All right, here we are. Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to my talk on modern Android hacking. This is gonna be exciting. I get a little riled up during this, so apologize. I get pretty passionate about some of these topics. So yeah, oh, real quick, for any of you who are attempting to gain privileged access on your device, just know that I'm rooting for you. All right, I had to get my security joke out of the way there. I'll let you pick yourselves up off the floor from that amazing joke while I go ahead and jump into my introduction. Again, my name is Dustin Summers. I am an Android security engineer at Capital One. Have been here for 2 years. And I've been in the security realm and Android realm for probably 5 years. So yeah, I really love security, really love Android. So luckily I kind of get to do both. So today we are going to be, I'm going to be showcasing a few of the modern hacks and talking about like what exactly is modern hacking. So just to kind of give the lay of the land real quick, I am on an emulator, as you can tell, and just gonna go hurry up, jump here to settings to show you that this is in fact Android 11, targeting the latest and greatest. This is modern hacking. This isn't, you know, Kit Kat hacking. So I wanted to show, you know, what's relevant and what's happening today. As far as the unfortunate app that's going to be getting hacked, it's one that I created. It's called Newvies. Here, I'm going to go ahead and jump in to show you kind of the flow of it. So this is a you know, basic authentication screen here. Oh, gotta learn how to type again. Just so basic authentication hooked up into it. Let me get in here real quick. Super secure passwords all the way around. It's password 1, make sure to keep that complexity level up. You got to add that number there. So I'm in, like I said, it's a pretty simple app. You know, you can browse the latest, greatest movies, have most popular, top rated. Gabriel's Inferno is apparently #1 in the world. And yeah, you can click here. There's some unfinished screens because, you know, who has time for finishing those out? And yeah, so there we go. Really, you know, kind of straightforward app. Gonna go ahead and sign out of that bad boy. And now I'm gonna show you, so that's the app that's actually gonna be being hacked. And let's jump into the app that's doing the hacking, which is this guy. So these are gonna be the apps that I'm showcasing, or the hacks that I'm showcasing: clipboard monitoring, accessibility abuse, and intent hijacking. I'll go more in depth and detail and about what each of those is going to be here in just a second. And also notice that I have a couple password managers. This is going to come into play here in a bit, but 1Password, LastPass. All right, so that's the landscape. Real quick disclaimer: yes, I am showing how to hack. That's illegal. So don't go out, hop on the Play Store, download a bunch of apps, rip them open, and try all these fancy things unless you're getting paid to do it. There's some gray area there with the getting paid to do it. For me, you know, I prefer white hat. So if you're getting paid, you know, do responsible disclosure if you are, you know, going after an app to hack, and then report that to the developer, especially if they have a bug bounty. Don't just hack their app and then demand ransom. That's ransomware. That's illegal. If you're going to do it, make sure that there's an active bug bounty going on, and that, you know, you're doing this to prove a point, and that, you know, hopefully secure them, maybe get some profit from it. But don't just go around hacking apps. That's illegal. I don't want you to get arrested. So that's my disclaimer. It's being recorded. You all heard it here. So, you know, if you can't go out and hack, then what's the point of me even talking about it? Well, you know, I'm by no means comparing myself to Martin Luther King Jr., the great MLK, but I do think that this quote is why we talk about it. Darkness can't drive out darkness. Only light can do that. So when we talk about hacking, we are shining the light in those hackers' faces, saying like, hey, we see you, we know what you're doing, go ahead and, you know, stop doing what you're doing. And, you know, they'll scurry off back to their dungeons, come up with something new, and, you know, we'll shine the spotlight on that once it pops up. But it's just a way, you know, we talk about it because that way you can take these lessons, you can know what's happening out in the real world and apply those to your apps, and hopefully apply that protection to your apps. And then that way, you know, you can be that upfront defense. Like, you all are in the trenches, you're developing these apps. You need to know what the hackers are doing to try to break through. And trust me, like, if your app's on the Play Store, it's a target. It's out there. I don't want you to be paranoid. Google's doing what they can to protect you, and, you know, trying to raise that security levels, raise that security bar, but it is still happening. And yeah, so I'll talk more about that here in a minute. But so what is modern Android hacking? Again, I'm not going to go over hacks that work on KitKat but aren't relevant today. Google is constantly raising that security bar. They're looking at, what does the active landscape look like as far as threats go, and they're trying to implement things to protect our users. So for me, modern Android hacking are hacks that still work on the last 3 versions. So for now, for 2020, that's 9.0 plus. I actually just pulled this chart this morning, so you can see that 9.0, that's about close to 40% of the active users out there. So it's a decent chunk. Obviously, Marshmallow going back to 6.0, that's an even bigger chunk. But hopefully those users are upgrading soon. They're going to see the light and kind of move towards the bigger and brighter future of later in devices. But I know for some people that's difficult. So just know that a lot of these hacks that I'm going to showcase, they're even worse on those lower end devices. Like they can even have more power over that device once they're enabled. But these hacks will work on 9.0 plus. Well, there's a caveat there, but we'll go into that. All right, so why should you care about hacking, right? I mean, Google, our stuff's on Google's platform. They're super secure. We all know that. So why do we care about app security? Well, there's a number of reasons. All the articles that I'm going to start showing here are actually, they're from either this year, last year, or 2018. So they're covering 9.0 plus. And you can look at the dates here, especially this one. This is going to come up here in just a minute. The hijack Firefox for Android via Wi-Fi network, super nasty one. And that just happened September, so last month. Yeah, so I'm just going to kind of click through these, but it's pretty nasty. And obviously, these are a lot of bigger name apps, but it doesn't matter if your app's on the Play Store, you're a potential target. Strandhog, very nasty one. We'll talk about that and kind of how it's accomplishing what it's doing. Yeah, so I forgot how many of these I actually have on here, but I think 2018 is the oldest one, but the rest are 2020, 2019. So yeah, pretty nasty. I mean, these articles happen every week, every month. I know you see them. So this is why we should care. Google is just the platform for us to launch our app, but we still have to have app security. We still have to protect our users because ultimately, it is up to us as developers to secure our own apps. It's not up to Google. So that's why we should care. Just want to hammer that home. But how are they doing this? That's a question that myself as a security engineer, I'm asking every day. And that's actually what I'm going to be showcasing here. I'm going to be showcasing these 4 hacks. I'm kind of ramping it up slowly. Accessibility abuse being like the most nasty one. The rest kind of, I'm going to start small, work my way up. So a quick hack of looking up packages is still a thing. Android 11 did just release some privacy changes to try to lock that down, but I'm going to show there's already a way around it. Clipboard monitoring, there's an asterisk there because that's 10.0 did release some things to try to lock that down further. Intent hijacking and accessibility abuse. These are the hacks that I'm going to be going over today. So yeah, let's dive right in. So Android 11 package name lockdown. Let's go ahead and dive into this real quick. I know this isn't like a what's new in security talk, but I just wanted to show that there's already a hack for a new privacy lockdown. So package visibility. You may or may not know that you within your app, you can request the package manager. You can get the installed packages, and you can get all metadata for all apps that are installed on a device. This is kind of pre-11 world. You could do this and you could basically see any app that was installed on that device. So what that means is, as Google's trying to lock down further and further those unique device identifiers, some developers are trying to find other ways to, fingerprint or, figure out which customer is who, based on certain fingerprints that they have set up for that device. Looking at all the packages and all the apps that were installed on device was one way that they were doing that. And so Google said, well, to further sandbox each individual app, we need to lock that down further. So what they've done is essentially you need to declare in your manifest a queries block. And inside that queries block, you have to individually list out which packages you are actually interested in. So, if you're only interested in like a specific messenger app, then you could, then you could do that, package manager, get installed packages, and it would tell you, hey, yeah, that one is installed on here, or, a null value, it's not. You could also, within that queries block, filter on intents, which, so then you could say, well, I want to know what all the messenger apps are, or what all the web browsers are, and it would give you that list. So you can filter on intents, and I think there's another one like receivers or processors, something like that. If you want in a I guess post-11 world, if you want to view all the packages on a device, you need to request a permission. As a bad guy, they don't want to have to request a permission, right? Because permission means it's user-facing. A security-minded user is going to say, well, why does this app need to know what all my packages are? And they could just choose to either deny that permission or just uninstall your app. It is a normal level permission, so it's not going to be one of those angry pop-ups into your user's face, but still, it's a permission. They can browse the app, see what has what permissions, and choose to disable yours because of that. So bad guys, they want to avoid that. So how do they avoid it? I'm going to show you. So this is saying, or do you actually need a permission? You do not. So the old way that I was mentioning it earlier is up there at the top: package manager, get installed packages, get metadata. Back in the day, that would give you everything, all apps that were installed on the device. These days, post 11, it will only give you the Google like default apps, right? So that's fine. But in order to see every other app that's out there, what you need to do, and so that's that second block here. New way to look at majority of packages without permission is, for the intent block, just say, I want to look up every app that has the Android intent action main, which pretty much is every app, because every app needs to declare in their manifest what is the main launching point of their application. Where does the operating system need to look inside the manifest in order to launch your app? And so there you go. If you filter on Android intent action main, you will get a full list, basically all apps that are still on that device without having to request permission. So there you all go. That's a quick one. I hope you learned something there. So that's just to get you excited. I hope your blood's pumping. You know a hack now. So that's kind of just getting started. There we go. So now we're going to jump into a demo for clipboard monitoring. And again, going back, I'm using that same package manager hack that I just showed you to do some nifty things with this. So here we go. I'm going to dive into the app right now. So this is, again, for those of you who may not have heard me at the beginning, this is the ultimate hacking app. I found it on the Play Store, thought it was really cool, thought it could really help me in my day-to-day life. Just kidding, this is one that I wrote specifically for this presentation. So clipboard monitoring here, this is the hack that we want to start looking at right now. So I'm going to dive into that bad boy. All right, so ignore the password one. That kind of just gave away the hack here. But anyway, so basically imagine that you're a hacker. And this is, again, this works on 9.0 and below. For 10.0 and up, it's not going to work. So 11, this hack won't work as good. That's why there was an asterisk on that page, but it can still work to a degree. So I'm going to show you that right here. So basically, the clipboard monitoring is essentially any app could register to listen to the clipboard manager or the clipboard monitor, the clipboard service, there we go. And they could assign a listener to it. And literally, if they just launched the service, did that, they could just listen to anytime anything was entered onto the clipboard. And so as a result, I actually spun up a foreground service here, very hiding in the weeds, hacking in progress. Yes, you're being hacked right now. I wanted it to hide within the noise, user not know what's going on. And so basically that service in the background could just, listen to the clipboard for any changes and upload anything that's put on the clipboard. And so to kind of demonstrate that, oh yeah, I can just demonstrate it real quick right within the app. So if I go ahead and highlight here, click copy, boom, paste down. So that's all from within that listener, all from within that service. It's just doing this automatically. So now, as a user, I'm going to go ahead and head on over to my Movies app. Log in. I want to check out what new movies are coming out. Super excited about that new one with Dwayne Johnson. He's my hero. Here we go. Then super secure password. All right, and we're in. Actually, what I was wanting to show you is what a user would do if they don't know their password. So here we go. So if they don't know what they get to the screen, they're like, ah, crap, what was my password again? I know, I need to go to my password manager. And so notice at the top here in this ultimate hacking app that I actually did, I do call out, again, using that package manager hack, hey, the device we're on has 1Password and LastPass installed. So, you know, as a hacker, I could program this app to say like, hey, let's pay attention a little bit more to this app because, you know, they have some password managers on there. So that means that they're most likely going to be accessing, you know, and copying and pasting passwords, or if they, you know, if they have PayPal, Venmo, whatever, you know, we might be able to, you know, sniff around, try to get some, you know, access to that. So anyway, so they head on over to their 1Password. Again, super secure. Passwords here. Enter that bad boy. Unlocked. So we're in. All right. Yeah, let me go ahead and copy that password that I just can never remember. Head on over to Newbies. Might have to enter my email again. And all right, so that's on the clipboard. Go ahead and paste it in there. All right, now I can look up that Dwayne Johnson movie, but it doesn't look like it's coming out anytime soon, so I'm gonna go ahead and get out of this. All right, so that was user interaction. Then they go back to my app, the Ultimate Hacking app, and you could see here that I kind of gave away the demo, but it should post here in a minute. Sometimes it takes a second. Anyway, this is a live demo, so things like this happen. But just know that right now it's thinking in the background, I guess. But this hack has been kind of busted anyway. So, and I'm going to go into like why this isn't working as expected, you know, and that's because I'm on my operating system is 11. So you set up a system service to listen to the clipboard, and then you profit maybe. So this is the old way to do it. So 9.0 and below, you could set up this clipboard service, clipboard manager, get the system service for the clipboard service. I know I'm saying the same word over and over, but you would add a clip change listener to that service, and then basically just do whatever the heck you wanted with that, whatever data was coming in on the clipboard. So this is what you used to be able to do. Profit, because notice the reverse profit there. But Android 10 changes to clipboard monitoring kind of have negated this hack pretty much completely. Unless your app is the default IME, which is a keyboard essentially, or your app currently has focus, it can't access clipboard data on 10 or higher. So that's why this hack doesn't really work. I know you're probably asking, well, like, why the heck are you showing this in modern Android hacking? Because it does work on 9.0 and below, but 9.0 is like that was my cutoff. And whenever I created this presentation, I was like, well, these are the 4 hacks I'm going to show, not knowing that this one wouldn't work as expected. So anyway, you know, just know that for any users below that, the fixes and the protections for this are still definitely relevant. So you should still apply those because yes, this was a Google lockdown, but the security around this is still very applicable and things that should be applied. And I'm going to go into that here soon. But for the most part, yes, this hack has been busted. So thank you, Google. I'm going to go and clap for them. So yeah, clipboard monitoring prevention, just target 29 plus. So right now I'm on 30. Text is selectable, set that to false. That is the default. So text views are by default set to false. Implement passwordless login, so biometrics, swipe patterns, things like that. You know, so that way your user doesn't have to go to their, you know, password manager in order to remember that. And then limit use cases for copy and paste. You know, I don't think that everyone needs to enter in a password every time, you know, entering biometrics, or, you know, I don't think that certain, you know, look at it on a use case-by-case basis, but definitely sensitive fields, figure out like, is this really something that we should allow the user to be copying and pasting? Because if something like this is existent on 9.0 and below, it's not gonna be, you know, you're potentially putting that data at risk. All right, so I know that one was kind of like, okay, Dustin, what's going on here? Give us some hacks. That's what we're interested in. All right, so now we're getting into some hacks. Oh, look, it just popped up right as I navigated away. See that? There we go. All right. So next, intent hijacking. So before I explain what's going on here, let's go ahead and jump into this so I can kind of explain this screen. So real quick, differences between intents, implicit intent, and an explicit intent. Explicit, I use a basketball analogy, even though I don't watch basketball, nor am I any good at it. But say, you know, I'm me and LeBron playing basketball. I got the ball, and I'm going to pass it to LeBron and say, hey, LeBron, I got this action. You got to take it, man. And LeBron catches it, and he goes on. That's an explicit intent. I need something to happen in my app, and and I know exactly where I want it to go. I know exactly who I want to take this ball or take this action, and so I'm going to toss it directly to them. That is an explicit intent. We do this every day. Whenever you launch any intent to launch another activity within your app, that's an explicit intent. You are saying, hey, operating system, hand the rest of what I want to happen over to this activity. It's going to take it from there. And and you can pass in your extras and handle all that way, and launch that activity to continue on with the day. So that's an explicit intent, saying specifically, hey, handle this action for me. So basically what I set up in Newbies is a way, and please don't do this at home, don't do this with your app, but I set up on my login screen a way for the auth activity, the authentication activity, to receive an email and password value. And basically, that can be passed directly to Firebase and just log in, kind of, seamless in the background. So yeah, great, amazing user experience. But it's insecure by nature, because I was making it insecure. But think about real world scenarios for this. A deep link that wants to just go ahead and log into your app, without the user having to authenticate, and just go directly to whatever screen you want. All I have to say to that is just let that app handle authentication. Don't try to handle it for them in any kind of intent. Passing sensitive data on an intent is bad in general. But okay, real quick though, let's jump into this explicit intent and what's going to happen. So I'm going to click this button. Newbies is going to launch in the background and go ahead and be logged in. So here we go. Clicking on that. There we go. Check out that Dwayne Johnson flick. Oh yeah, it's still not out yet. All right. Going to go ahead and sign out. So that was an explicit intent that just fired and launched Newbies. And this is again from my hacking app, not from any other app. All right, so an implicit intent is, at the beginning of basketball, I don't even know if they do this anymore, but when they throw the ball up and like they have to try to jump up and grab it. I guess the tip, anyway, that's what kind of like an implicit intent. You're throwing your action up in the air in the Android operating system world, and you're saying, hey, Android, figure out who can handle this intent for me, and they'll take it from there. So that's what an implicit intent is. The only times you should really use an implicit intent is if it's for, say, like, you don't want to just target like a specific messenger app if like your user doesn't use that. So you want to kind of throw that up in the air and say, hey, operating system, use whatever the user has as default, or let them choose what they want to send this message with. So it could be like, WhatsApp, Signal, whatever they have. Or, web browser, same thing, like, hey, do they want to use Chrome, Firefox? Let them make that choice. So that's exactly what an implicit intent is. And going back to those articles that I was showing, from September of last year, this was a big issue in the Firefox app. They were broadcasting a certain protocol. It's called simple service discovery, basically like trying to figure out who else is on the network with them from an app. And basically, if a malicious guy was on that same network, he could send a payload with an intent to that device and basically launch their browser for them. And it could also, I don't know how this part worked, but they could like spread to other devices as well. So like super nasty, because now this user has like, whatever this bad guy wanted them to load up on their phone, and it could potentially, download whatever they wanted automatically, like, so pretty nasty stuff. So this is a very relevant hack. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do this implicit intent, and you'll see kind of the dangers of it. So this is the operating system saying, hey, and by the way, the action that the intents are firing, it's a custom action specific for newbies. It's I think it's like com.newbies.login or something like that. So, you know, this isn't something default. So, you know, just because you create a custom action for your app doesn't mean that other apps can't abuse it. So basically this is showing that there are now 2 different apps that could handle this intent. And so I'm going to say, all right, well, you know, newbies is where I want it to go. So I'm going to show the happy path. Oh, look at that. All right, logged in. Cool. So go ahead and sign out. Let's show the unhappy path. What if the user, and if this was a smart hacker, they could kind of, you know, make this even more nefarious by, you know, maybe changing the icon, maybe trying to display, you know, something that looks very similar to what newbies is. But yeah, so let's say I want to use the ultimate hacking app. Oh, boom. They just received my email and password. So that's pretty nasty. So now I'm going to dive into like actually how I did this in the code here on the slides. But I just kind of wanted to show you a demo of why this is bad. So the implicit intent inside the extras was an email and password value. They could also just dump out all the extras, figure out what's in there. But what happened was the ultimate hacking app received that intent and launched its own activity to handle that. So, you know, pretty nasty stuff. And, you know, what they could potentially do is also, you know, hijack the intent, grab whatever they wanted out of those extras and then forward it off to, you know, where it was actually intended to go in Destin. So that way it'd be a really quick transaction. Just within their activity, they could scrape everything out and then just send it right off to, you know, in this case, newbies. And then you would see a couple weird screens pop up, but, you know, in the end, it would look normal. So pretty nasty there. But let's talk about how did that happen. So declare and manifest the target intent, process the intent received, and then destroy or just profit, which that's usually what these bad guys are trying to do, is profit, not destroy. So here is the target app. This is newbies. So you could see that I have my auth activity. That was that, you know, the activity that's supposedly wanting to receive this intent. And then the intent filter here that was declared was this com.attica.newbies.login. So that's that was, you know, this is kind of where the this is what the intent filter was designed to do. It's letting the operating system know, like, hey, I can handle this intent for a login. You know, if you know, if anyone's interested in logging in over here on my poor little newbies app with no users. So then my hacking app went ahead and was like, you know, just kind of browsing the Play Store, pulling down some apps, opening them up, looking in the manifest, and I was like, oh wow, that's an interesting. That looks like an interesting intent filter login. I wonder what they're passing around with that. And so then, you know, this ultimate hacking app, you know, logs that also in his manifest or her manifest, and next thing you know, they're able to receive the intents that are destined for newbies. And I can't remember if I mentioned this before, but manifest files, they can't really be obfuscated or hidden in any way because the operating system needs the manifest in order to know where to go once it launches your app. So that's why you have those main and the launch intents, is because it's like, hey, this is the activity that's going to handle everything once you launch my app. And so looking at manifests from other apps on the Play Store is pretty trivial, and I'm sure you could write a script really easily to you know, scrub through those. I might declare in the manifest the target intent, and then just process the intent received. So if the intent has extra email, password, you know, hopefully they're maybe a little bit harder than that, but you know, and then this is just me printing those out onto the screen. So, and then from there you can just destroy. So I love this. I'm just gonna watch this real quick because it makes me laugh every time. But yeah, so, you know, bad guys could just go ahead from there and destroy your life, destroy your user's credit, whatever. You know, whatever that intent was designed to do, or they could just profit off of it, depending on, you know, what those values were, if they were anything special or not. I don't know what the value of Shroot Bucks is these days, but I'm sure it's high. Okay, so that was intent hijacking. So how do we protect ourselves against this? limit the use of your implicit intents. That's probably number one. Only use them for those actions that you don't mind, the user, like, they hit the share button and, they want to share like a fancy new thing that they created, or, just a recipe, whatever, and then they can kind of choose where they want to share it to. That's fine. Use that, but never share anything sensitive outside of your app using an intent. If you do own 2 apps on the same device, I wouldn't try to, you can maybe launch that activity, I would still use explicit, and then let the backend handle whatever data you were wanting to track. I'm not going to get, there's a lot of use cases, a lot of weeds there, but if you're going to share anything sensitive though, like if that is, it's like, man, we have to share this, we have to put this in the extras, do it, encrypt it. That's, that's what I have to say there. Make sure that if you are going to be sharing anything sensitive, go ahead and encrypt it before you send it across the wire. Maybe even if it's not super sensitive, but it's still like, yeah, I don't want someone else getting this, I would still encrypt it before you, send it on an intent. And that's for implicit and explicit, but not necessarily within your same app. Sorry, I'm kind of going down a rabbit hole here. But specifically for those intents that you're going to be exposing, there's an exported equals true or false that you can also have in your manifest. I think by default it's false. I could be wrong there, so I'll double check that. But you can also assign permissions and signatures to your intents, and I would definitely recommend that. So permissions means that basically that app has to have a certain level of permissions before they can handle your intent. So say your app has a camera intent and that app doesn't, you could make sure that that app also has a camera intent or a camera permission. Signatures, that's basically like a custom signature that you can assign within your manifest. And before you let any other receiving app or intent filter receive this intent, they also have to have that same signature. So those are also both things that I would look into before you use intents. All right, so now, accessibility abuse. I'm gonna go ahead and apologize in advance. I get really riled up on accessibility abuse because for those who aren't aware, accessibility is for those with disabilities. And it's functions within the app or within the operating system, actually on the device to help those with disabilities. But so many apps abuse it, and it really gets me riled up. So let me just go ahead and dive in real quick. All right, so Ultimate Hacking app. So this is basically saying like, hey, we need accessibility permissions enabled for this demo to work. Please go to settings and enable to proceed. Imagine this is anything else. So like imagine, actually I have some really good examples of why this is such a gray area, because legitimate apps also, I wouldn't say abuse, but they use these features for their own benefits. And you'll see examples of that here very shortly. But anyway, go to settings because I need to enable this accessibility feature in order to work. All right, so what we have here, there's 3 apps within the accessibility services that are on this device. I'm not going to talk about these just yet, but the one for Ultimate Hacking app, the reason I downloaded this app really is because apparently it said it could prevent coronavirus. So I want to enable that to see, hey, I didn't realize that the CDC created this app that could prevent coronavirus. So let's go ahead and check that out. And so this is the scary part about accessibility. For those who are looking to abuse it, is that it gives full control for apps, to help with accessibility needs. It explicitly says that right here, but it's not for most apps. But it can literally, it gives you full control. It doesn't require root. It's literally just basically becomes system on the device. I mean, it's not to that degree, but it basically is. And so it can view and control your screen, and it can view and perform actions. Like, sorry, like I said, I get worked up about this because, bad people use this for, their own bad nefarious needs, and it's meant for disability. But so yeah, so I just enabled my coronavirus prevention app, so now I'm completely safe. If you download this app, you're also completely safe. So, no more masks. Just kidding. Don't listen to me. All right, so now in the Ultimate Hacking app, you're going to start seeing a lot of toasts down at the bottom. Basically, that is the accessibility service that's running on the background. So I'm just going to go ahead and close this app completely. Boom, go ahead and close that. This service that's running is actually, that was from the other demo I gave about the clipboard monitoring. So this service isn't even related to what I'm talking about right now. So there is nothing that's apparent to the user once this is enabled. It's just running in the background always. For this specific use case, I only targeted newbies. So the only app that this, basically the accessibility service, that I can say that it was built for essentially was newbies. But the bad thing is that you don't have to target just your app. You can target any app, which is essentially what I'm doing by targeting newbies here. So I'm going to go ahead and open up newbies. And like I said, you're going to start seeing a lot of toasts at the bottom, and I'm going to explain what those are as we go. So launching this, and there you go. So you see newbies down at the bottom. You see a blank array. Basically what this is doing right now is it's scraping the screen, trying to read off anything it can, and any labels, anything like that. It's trying to basically just display those. It doesn't have to do that. That's how I wrote it. It could be doing all of this silently. It could be uploading it to a server. It could be taking screenshots, whatever the heck it wants. All right, gonna sign in with the email. Again, my super secure password. And notice at the bottom what's happening as I'm typing. You can kind of see that it's basically a keylogger, logging literally every keystroke and then toasting it out. Obviously this wouldn't be happening, to a user. This, again, all this would be silent, but super dangerous. This is how Strandhog and a lot of the malware that's out there these days function, is they hijack onto they hop onto the accessibility features, and they just kind of ride that train, and they can look at anything that's going on. So sign in. So I think, yeah, so I just pulled this label. I think it also, you can look at like the layout that you're on and like print that out as well. So you could you could only turn on whenever you're on like some kind of authentication activity or whatever you want. And so passwords, as we know, they're sensitive fields, right? So so the text values like asterisks and stuff like that, right? So we should be safe from any kind of keyloggers in this manner, right? Again, as I type, just watch the bottom. So you can see basically every word is still highlighted and still, selected, but everything else is asterisk. But, it doesn't matter. Like, you can still get the entire password from that. Same for account number, same for whatever the user is entering. So there you go. I'm in. And now this is just going to kind of start showing some other stuff that's happening. But yeah, so that's accessibility. Super, super nasty. Yeah, and I get really angry thinking about it because, again, it's supposed to help disability people, and then a lot of malware, that's what they hop on, and they convince users to go ahead and enable this accessibility feature, and then they basically own the device without root, without any kind of notification. Yes, at any point the user could go in there and disable it, but they can maybe pre-program something to kick off if that happens. Once that's enabled, the possibilities are endless. Let's talk about it. How it happens. Accessibility abuse, steps to enable, declare it in a manifest, create accessibility service, convince user to enable it, and destroy. So here we go. Basically like declaring any other service, except the biggest difference is that you need a permission bind accessibility service. It's not dangerous. They just, you just have to basically enable it for it to work. And then the intent filter just basically tells the operating system that, hey, I'm an accessibility service. This is just a default Android accessibility service. And then the service config down here is actually how I was able to basically change the label to say, coronavirus prevention app, which, I mean, who wouldn't want to install that? I mean, I would enable that every day. All right. And so this is basically how the service works. This is me setting it up to, target what I want to target. And so up here at the top, the immutable list of, basically I was saying like, I want to definitely hone in on these kinds of activities. So the auth activity, once the service is connected, I know I'm really close on time here, so I'm going to try to speed up a little bit. Once the service is connected, these are the package names that I want to pay attention to. So right now I'm just targeting newbies. If you don't list a package name, it targets everything. It's the worst. Event types. I declared, whenever type view text has changed or window state changed, that's why there were different pop-ups happening there. And then report flags, basically like report view IDs. So that's kind of what that those one pop-ups were. I think it was just like show like newbies or sign in, stuff like that. So yeah, that's really it. Then you just got to make sure that the service info is all set to this, and you're golden. And then on accessibility event, basically any of those events that I just outlined, anytime anything happens with those, you can just say whatever you want to happen. And so, you know, I was logging things out, or in this case also I was toasting them. You can do whatever you want though. You can, you know, exfil it on some server, you know, whatever. It's pretty nasty, and yep, makes me angry. So convince users to enable. Again, look what I'm surrounded by. I'm surrounded by legitimate apps. I'm surrounded by 1Password, LastPass. Why do they ask for these? Because they also want to ride on the accessibility train and try to, you know, we'll autofill your passwords. Look, I'm not hating on these apps. I completely understand why they want to offer that feature, and it's a nice feature, but you know, it's riding that thin line of like security versus what do they call it? Like, you know, ease of access or whatever. So like it's security versus usability. There we go. But yeah, so the accessibility feature that they are riding on is fill usernames and passwords in supported browsers. You know, that's good, and I'm okay with that, but that means that they can essentially have access to whatever they want if they wanted. And so then there you go, they destroy. And here's the fire drill reference I was talking about. So yeah, nasty stuff. Or they can profit. Again, more shirt bucks. So that's probably the nastiest one that I had to show real quick. How to protect it. Really, it's difficult, right? I mean, that's on your users who enabled it. So the most that I can say is safety net verify apps. It rides on top of Google Play Protect. They do a very good job of trying to hone in on, you know, new malware that's abusing these features. And I think they have been doing pretty good, but they're not going to catch any new ones that are out there that haven't gained a lot of support or steam, just because, you know, it's Google. They're looking at millions of apps, so it's hard for them to really hone in and protect. But, you know, hopefully they can catch them before they cause too much damage. Safety net verify apps is really awesome. It can you can actually look to see if the user even has Google Play Protect turned on. And if they don't, then you can actually just swap over and make them turn it on before they access your app, things like that. So yeah, and then all this over here, these are kind of like the different ways that they classify malware or, you know, fraudulent apps, things like that. There's others I'm going to write blogs about. I know really close over time right now, but there's others out there. I'm going to write blogs about task hijacking, screen overlays, app spoofing. So yeah, stay tuned for those. So what does this all mean? App security should be thought of in the beginning. It's always evolving. It's a layered approach. It's a cat and mouse game. Just stay on your toes. Pay attention, you know, to what Google's putting out, what's coming out in articles. Educate your users. Add security in depth. Leverage available tools. Don't be an easy target. The way I like to kind of picture it is, you know, don't be the low-hanging fruit on the tree. Move your fruit as high up on that tree as you can. Because the attackers are lazy. They just want to grab whatever's closest and easiest. So if your fruit's all the way up here, they're not even going to bother. So just try to move that, unless you're, you know, a valuable target, but just try to move that fruit up as high as you can. About me, Dustin Summers. That's my website, and that's it. I know I went a little bit over, but I tried to hurry. Any questions? You can open it up for questions.
Sure. Okay. You should be able to unmute if you have questions. We do have some that were already in the chat. Not sure which ones we may have gotten to while we were doing it. I can also, Dustin, I can copy these into the Slack channel for this session, and we can continue conversations there as well if you'd like.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Yeah, we can move it over there, or, you know, if people want to open it up and ask questions, that works too. But yeah, I'll definitely be paying attention to that Slack channel for whoever wants to chat.
Can we ask questions here also? Seems like
yep.
Yes.
it was mentioned. Okay, thank you. Hey Dustin, thanks for the talk.
Yeah.
My questions are, so one is like the clipboard attack that you showed, would it also be like, since this did not work, you mentioned this was Android 11 or 10 device emulated,
Yeah.
but would it work if the app is still in focus, like in multi-window mode? Like if both apps were side by side on Android 10
I
or
would
11?
imagine, yeah, I would say I'd do it here, but live demos. But I'll give that a shot right after this and see if I can, see if I can do that. But I imagine it would, but I guess I don't know how I don't know if they would think of that as being in the foreground if it's not being interacted with. So I think that would be the only, difference there, but it might. That's a good point. I'd like to try that.
Yeah, sure. They changed something related to on resume's behavior in multi-window mode in recent versions of Android. That's why I was wondering. But yeah, you're right. Maybe it wouldn't.
Yeah.
One question, not a question, but yeah, maybe Google can do something like for the accessibility servicing. Maybe Google can do something like they did with the file system related permissions, like fill a form if you want to be a file explorer app, or you won't have access. What do you think
Yeah.
about that?
No, that's exactly what I think should happen. Because really that has to happen at their level, at a platform level, because from an app perspective, there's nothing that we can really do about it, to police that. So no, you're exactly right. I think they should lock down accessibility and, require legitimate apps to submit some kind of form. Yep, definitely agree.
All right, thanks, Dustin. Over to anyone else if they want to ask any questions. Thanks.
Hey, so, sorry, sorry, Aveda, she would be here too. I guess because, so I have aphasia, and so then can you have the 1, 2, and 3?
So he has text to speech. What else is it? He has 3 accessibilities on. He has select to speak, talk back, and live transcribe. So are those like good?
I think are those Google provided ones. I think,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think those are fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more like there's like some third-party ones that are out there that I would be worried about. So if you download an app and it requests accessibility features, just be wary that you're basically handing your app over to them or your phone over to them.
Right.
But I think for Google ones you're fine because they already have everything anyway. So.
So you think too, because I have Benjamin for GDG. He did one, and it's only this one.
He has his friend made an app called Soundbox,
And so
you can put words in there so that it says them to you.
So they say that, and then I can say that, and either yes or no, and that's cool, because then I go, that's cool, I got it, or not. So you think, one, you can go like Google or something in there for, like for this one, because,
You said it's an app that your friend made and it's like constantly listening, I guess, for you to talk into it? Is that kind of what it does?
Kinda, but it's more like you can type words in and then they'll say it back to you and you can practice those. And then when you click on it, it'll say the word and then you say it back to it and it'll tell you if it's right or wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually I can go this one. So I think I'm here now. You can see me.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is it right here. And so if I could go aphasia, and then that's good. But then there's that. So I think those are good in there, but
is it requesting is that one requesting accessibility? Or
yeah.
Like you mean, sorry, say
Yeah.
something.
He's asking if this requests accessibility, and it does
That's,
at first.
so
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah, for speech and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
well, because it might. Is it on the Play Store, that app?
Is it?
Not right now. He only did that, just only me, because he's
He's still developing it and stuff like
yeah.
that.
But then I want to actually, what I want is, right now it's only me, but I want to do all that for Google and Apple for Flutter. And then I want to do something that's even better. And what I'm saying too, there's no money. You don't want to have money. You're just going to have whatever you want. But also you can do, like, I'm Tyson, but also you have one now too for aphasia, and you have aphasia.
Right.
Or
So what he's saying is that he wants to make an app on Flutter for like people who have aphasia and to just help them out.
Yeah, so I think, I think to accomplish what that app's trying to accomplish, you probably don't need accessibility. So I would be curious to see, because you can request permissions to have the microphone and, things like that. So I don't know if you would need to have accessibility enabled for that, but, it's a case by case, I guess, in that instance. I would just say, like, if you don't need accessibility, I wouldn't request it.
Okay.
Yeah, but, in that way, because if Google does happen to, want to lock this down more, and you're just an app that's using accessibility but doesn't need it, you're going to have to find a workaround then anyway. So I would just, but there's ways to access, microphone, camera, stuff like that without needing accessibility.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That's, again, thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll
He's saying he'll contact you on Slack too.
yeah. And so thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Hey, Dustin, someone asked on the chat that how do you protect an app from overlay attacks? I figured this would be like, I'm interested in it too, so I brought that up.
Yeah, so hold on. Oh, okay. Make sure I wasn't muted. So for overlay attacks, there are ways to, again, I would say things like verify apps, because that way, if there's a malicious app that's doing overlays, it kind of falls in that same accessibility range of, that's kind of a first line defense. There are also ways within your view, I forget the exact term, but it's something like make sure I'm on. Yeah, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, could you repeat that?
Yeah, so I would say as a first line of defense, using that safety net verify apps that I kind of talked about for accessibility, that kind of relies on Google's framework to see if there's anything malicious. And if apps are trying to do the overlay attack, that means that they're a malicious app. And so hopefully they might be already on Google's list. If not, if it's an unknown app, there's a way inside the XML for your view to say it's something like always be on top. I forget the exact nomenclature of it, but it basically says, like, I don't want anything to ever be able to be on top of this view, like make sure it's the top level view. And that's another way to to circumvent those overlay attacks. I'll post in the chat the exact wording for that and what that option is.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, Dustin, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Hi, I'm Priya. So I was interested in knowing what are some other resources that we can go to learn more about different kind of hacks and how to prevent them, and some hands-on training kind of stuff. Yeah,
that's a really good question. I need to, because a lot of my stuff's been on the job, because so I've that's how I've picked it up and learned it. And a lot of my resources were just a lot of Googling and figuring stuff out. There are a lot of security researchers out there, so blogs and working through those and seeing how they're doing things. Also just experimenting. But as far as courses, I know there are some available, and if anyone else has recommendations for that, please let Priyanka know. But I have heard of some, so I'll make sure to chat those to you. I need to find a pen. But I'll make sure to chat those to you so that I can share those to you, because there's some from a couple websites that I've heard about that people have said that they're pretty good. So I'll let you know what those are.
Okay.
Sorry I couldn't give you anything right here.
So are there any go-to websites for you to learn more about hacking?
I pay attention to I pay attention to a lot of the hacker news websites that come down. That's kind of it's just kind of like my go-to news resource. There's also there's another like separate cyber one that I listen in on, but yeah, I should have included some resources here and thought about it beforehand. I'll reach out to you and I'll post some things in the chat right after this of things that I kind of rely on. Yeah. Sorry, I can't tell you here. All right. Does anyone else have anything? All right. Well, I'm gonna head over to the chat room and follow up with some of these questions. But yeah, thank you all for attending. Really appreciate it, and yeah, enjoy the rest of the conference.